Food additives have been given the blame for many conditions and diseases in recent years. They're cited as being the cause of ailments from stomach issues to heart conditions. Yet the food industry keeps reassuring us that they're harmless, although increasing evidence negates these reassurances. This leaves us wondering, are the food additives really as bad as everyone's saying? After the Industrial Revolution, mankind has increasingly relied on mass-produced foods that are easy to store and relatively cheap. And the modern tendency towards instant gratification with regards to our food has seen a huge rise in demand for food that's quick to make. According to the World Health Organization, food additives are added to mass-produced food to improve their safety, freshness, texture, taste, and appearance. Certain food additives have a long history of use for preservation. Among these are salt, which is used for curing of bacon or preserving fish, and sugar, which is used to make jam. Preserving a small quantity of food for personal use is very different than preserving an enormous quantity of food for the consumer market. In the consumer market, the food needs to stay fresh for as long as possible. And while many of the more traditional food additives are still used, they're used in more extreme quantities, while others are now synthetic in nature. These days, over 7,000 different food additives are used to not only help the food to stay edible for longer, but to add texture, colour, and to enhance taste. Food additives have been used more and more since the large-scale production of foodstuff has taken over in the modern era. They have certain advantages. The food additives are commonly added to canned and processed foods to keep them from spoiling and thus to combat food poisoning. Foods that are to last a long time often lose their flavour. In order to prolong the taste or to even enhance it, food additives like salt, acid, certain flavour enhancers, and even sweeteners are added in order to make the food taste better. But unfortunately, many of these additives also give rise to certain food cravings and have dangerous side effects. Many foods are fortified with various vitamins and minerals. Unfortunately, many of the nutrients that are naturally found in the food are lost when the food is processed, and this is why they need to be added. However, with synthetic food fortification there can be problems, such as synthetic folate fortification can hide a B12 deficiency on a blood test. Sometimes the food's appearance and texture can change due to processing, so food additives are added to make these foods' texture, appearance, and taste more acceptable. Many different studies have made a possible link between the use of food additives and various health issues. Among these are ADHD and other behavioural problems, allergic reactions, asthma, high blood pressure and heart disease, weight gain, gut problems, the occurrence of metabolic syndrome, inflammation, high blood sugar and diabetes, lower levels of HDL or good cholesterol, hives, diarrhea, nausea, shortness of breath, depression, and even increased incidence of cancer. Interestingly, inflammation can be one of the causes of overeating. Although it may be best to try and avoid all food additives, some may have worse consequences for your health than others. Among those best to avoid include Monosodium Glutamate, also known as MSG. This food additive is used as a flavour enhancer, and it's been linked to depression, headaches, obesity, eye damage and fatigue. For more information on this, check out my video on glutamate and GABA. According to studies, the colorants found in many of the foods can lead to behavioural problems in children. They've also been linked to cancer and chromosomal damage. There's indications that they can interfere with your body's brain nerve transmission. Yellow tartrazine dye has been correlated with a heightened risk of developing kidney and adrenal gland tumours when administered to lab animals. Aspartame is an artificial sweetener and is commonly found in diet or sugar-free foods. There's indications it may have carcinogenic properties. It also has neurotoxic properties. It might contribute to the incidence of Parkinson's, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety, and a host of other conditions. In addition, it's been found to cause weight gain. Sodium sulfite is an additive that's used in processed foods and wine, and it's been linked to asthma, rashes, and headaches. Trans fats increase your LDL or bad cholesterol levels and thereby increase your risk of developing heart issues, strokes, diabetes and inflammation. High fructose corn syrup is used instead of cane sugar, and it's one of the most used sweeteners in processed foods in the US. It contributes to weight gain, high cholesterol and diabetes. Sodium nitrite is added to most processed meat. Studies reveal this additive has been linked to increased instances of cancer. It also has a negative effect on the pancreas and the liver. Sulfur dioxide is associated with bronchial issues. Those especially susceptible include people who have asthma or low blood pressure. Those with emphysema, heart issues, asthma or bronchitis are strongly advised not to eat foods treated with this additive. Inflammation is your body's response to stress of any kind, and many food additives are the cause of such stress because they create a series of changes within your body. The inflammation process starts as soon as your body is presented with certain pathogens against which it feels it needs to defend itself. The white blood cells move to the cell walls of your blood vessels, reaching the area of an infection. Inflammation is a part of your body's defense mechanism and your immune system. In fact, inflammation can be described as a byproduct of your body's immune system, as the repair work conducted by the latter, when presented by infections, triggers the inflammation process. Your immune system is strongly associated with your body's neuroendometabolic stress response, which in turn is strongly associated with higher levels of cortisol or stress hormone. If your body is constantly bombarded with pathogens such as certain food additives, the neuroendometabolic response continues, and this results in constantly high cortisol levels. Cortisol works at reducing inflammation, although it doesn't entirely eliminate it. However, as your body moves through the different stages of adrenal fatigue, your cortisol production decreases. Your adrenal glands become increasingly taxed by producing the cortisol levels needed for you to cope. This means less cortisol is available to suppress your immune system and thus to combat the various symptoms commonly associated with inflammation. This can result in chronic inflammation, with many symptoms associated with it increasing. Some of the symptoms of chronic inflammation are weight gain, especially around the waist area, high blood sugar levels, digestive issues, chronic fatigue, skin conditions like psoriasis and eczema, anxiety, depression and brain fog, gum disease, erectile dysfunction and allergies. While we have no control over the additives that are put into the processed foods, we can try to limit our intake of these foods as much as possible. And by doing so, we limit the triggers that lead to inflammation and the various symptoms that are associated with it. Changing your diet is also a great way of limiting and possibly even helping to combat adrenal fatigue and other conditions. This means eating various fruits and vegetables that are known to actively help to reduce inflammation. Ginger, for example, has anti-inflammatory properties. Cold water fish like sardines, anchovies, herrings and salmon are high in omega-3 fatty acids, and these help to alleviate autoimmune conditions and to relieve inflammation, while organic, grass-fed, free-range meats have a high omega-3 level and lower levels of the inflammatory omega-6 fatty acids. Brightly coloured fruits and vegetables are effective anti-inflammatory foods, while grapes and berries also promote cardiovascular health. Nuts can help to stabilise your blood sugar and your insulin levels, while olive oil has powerful anti-inflammatory compounds. Certain herbs and spices like turmeric, oregano, cinnamon and rosemary have numerous health benefits, and these help with inflammation suppression, and they can enhance the flavour of meals much better than food additives. To book a consultation or to learn about herbs, supplements and natural treatments, check out my website.